Greetings and welcome to our series of weekly devotionals. Today we're wrapping up our look this week at some selected verses in Psalm 90. Back about 25, 30 years ago, I spent about a week in the hospital. I was going through some pretty serious health issues at the time, and it was a pretty dark period of time in my life. And I remember feeling a sense of despair and depression and just sort of sunk in this darkness. And I was in a hospital in Allentown, and I remember looking out a window in the wing of the hospital in which I was staying and seeing the golden dome of the Cathedral of St. Catherine of Siena, which is on 18th Street in Allentown. And I remember just being filled with this sense of peace. It was as if this recognition that God was with me, even in this dark place, somehow transformed that time that I was spending and transformed it from a time of pain and suffering into a time of healing and a sense of community and a sense of hope that no matter this difficult time I was going through, I knew that God was with me and that I would get through it eventually. And perhaps you've spent experiences like that as well. And if you have, I hope and pray that God's presence with you maybe has helped you to feel a sense of hope during those times as well. I know that as I mentioned, Moses traditionally is attributed with writing this particular psalm, Psalm 90, and certainly Moses must have felt some of those experiences as well in the story of the Exodus, all of the difficulties in liberating the Israelites from slavery and wandering through the desert for 40 years, the people hungry and thirsty and complaining, and certainly Moses needed to rest in God's presence for that sense of hope going through that time of difficulty and hardship. This particular psalm, Psalm 90, probably was written and added to the Psalter during the time of exile when the Israelites were taken away into Babylon. And certainly that was another time in the history of the people of God in which they suffered and for many years, decades, and had indeed to rest in the presence of God to make it through, to feel a sense of hope in the midst of that very difficult time. And that sense of hope, that sense of presence, allows this psalm to say, even in the midst of the recognition that we are mortal, that our days are numbered, that we will in fact die, we can live our days with hope. Satisfy us in the morning with your steadfast love, God, so that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Good days, bad days, suffering, and joy, we can have a sense of hope because we know all of our days are spent in the presence of God. I mentioned in a previous devotional the great reformer Martin Luther, and I'd like to end my devotional today with one of my favorite quotes from him that I think is the ultimate expression of hope, when he said, "If the world were to end tomorrow, I would plant a tree today." Amen.